Thank you for joining me with the E.F.T Tapping workshop. I'm just waiting for people to join in. If you're watching on the replay, hello, thank you for watching the replay. Hope you find this very useful. I'm just waiting for those who are tuning in live to join in. Hello, everyone. Got people joining in on the Instagram side now. So thank you for tuning in. This is a workshop on EFT, which is emotional freedom technique, also known as tapping, where we can tap parts of our body to help clear away any emotional stress that we're feeling, any negativity, and any trauma, and also helps to rewire our neural pathways as well. It's a whole wonderful thing working with the energy and the neuroscience as well. So just to quickly say to everyone, I will take questions at the end. I'm going to go through what the EFT technique is, how it works, and do a demonstration to show you how you can just disconnect yourself from the negative charge that you might be feeling, negative emotions and feelings, and how you can apply this to yourself. And then we'll go over some questions as well. Just to say, I'm online on Instagram, also streaming live on YouTube. The replay for this workshop will be available on my YouTube channel. For those on Instagram who are not familiar with my YouTube page, it's Danny Conscious Living, the same my Instagram page. Post daily videos on there, and all the replays for the workshop will be there as well. But with that being said, I'm going to begin talking about this wonderful therapy, which is a type of what's a therapy called energy psychology. So EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. So what this is a form of energy psychology that's very similar to acupuncture and acupressure. There are certain energy points on the body called the meridian points connected to the meridian system. So there's many different energy pathways that we have in our body and in our energy bodies and in our aura, shall we say. But as well as the chakra system, which a lot of you may be familiar with, there's the meridian system. Now, the meridians are all around the body. The meridian system has been described as the highway of qi in some Chinese medicines. Qi meaning energy, also meaning prana, God or source. So we have the meridian energy system, and there's these pathways that are run all throughout our body, and the energy flows through. And for us to have perfect health, optimum balance, emotional stability, peace and calm, and optimum levels of health and everything that we want, it's said that this energy system needs to be running smoothly. There needs to be no just energy disruptions. And it's said that if the meridian system or the energy pathways gets blocked, usually by negative thinking, emotional trauma, physical abuse, etc., then energy becomes stuck, and that can cause problems on the physical level, as well as mental imbalances and emotional distress. And it's said that if we keep this energy system clear, then it unblocks the energy, allows the energy to flow naturally, and we can have wonderful peace and stability. So very similar to the chakra system, if any of your chakras are blocked, you may be familiar that chakras are the energy spinning centers in the body. If one of them gets blocked, it stops it from spinning properly, and it can then cause energy disruptions, and it can have a negative effect on the other chakras as well. So same with the energy system. You can think of the meridian system in your body as kind of like the London Underground or the tube stations, where there's all these different railway tracks, and for the whole system to run smoothly, it all needs to be smoothly everywhere else. If there's a delay in one area or block in one area, it will affect the whole system. So this is like working with the acupuncture and acupressure rooted, that's very similar to teachings of the Chinese medicine. But what EFT does, instead of using needles and putting needles on parts of our body, we use our fingers and tap. On the body, there are certain acupuncture pressure points, or also the meridian points, just underneath the skin. And it's said that when you tap these energy points, it helps to disrupt any negative energy or emotional charge that's going on. So when you tap on these points, it helps to unblock any emotional charge that you have. It helps to clear the energy from the energy system, and it also helps on the psychological area. It helps to rewire the neural pathways. So literally with this technique, whilst we are tapping on these certain parts of the body, whilst we're feeling some kind of emotional distress, anxiety, fear or trauma, As we're tapping on these points, whilst focusing on what the issue is, we are bringing that issue up from our subconscious mind, and it helps to disconnect that emotional discharge. So EFT has had wonderful, I mean, it's becoming so much more well known and talked about now as a really serious therapy to consider to help with so many things. It's going to be one of the healing practices, therapies that's going to be at the forefront of so many other like holistic therapies, because the results are just astounding. It can help people get over phobias that they've had all their lives, anxiety, depression, pain management, emotional distress, all these sorts of things. And this is a wonderful practice that I've used on myself since I was very young, since I was about 15, 16, when I went through kind of my spiritual awakening and also kind of my dark night of the soul. This has been a therapy that's been wonderful for me, and I'm actually now a qualified EFT practitioner. And so when I work with my clients on a one-to-one basis, I use this technique and train my clients up to use this technique themselves. It's a very safe, very simple and non-invasive therapy that can do wonders. So this is something that I do work with clients as well. So at the end, if you are interested in booking some one-to-one sessions with me, we can go over that as well. There's a free discovery call that you can book in on a date and time, and we can talk about the issues that you want to work on. But I want to do a demonstration of how this process works. And this is something that I'm going to be posting a lot more videos about on my YouTube channel, because if you want something very simple, very easy, working with your own energy, and if you don't want to work on a one-to-one basis, but you just want something to learn by yourself, this is a possibility as well. So EFT is very simple. We're going to be using affirmations and tapping the energy points. Now, before I go over the energy points that you tap on, I'm just going to explain the process of what you do. So when you are wanting to do a tapping session, it works best if you are feeling something in the moment. So this can work and with long-term habits if you want to change your thinking. So when I've spoken before about trying to change your subconscious behavior, this is one of the therapies that can help change and rewire the subconscious, because it helps to remove the emotional charge and the trauma that we're holding on to. But what this is really good is if in the moment you're feeling anxiety, anger, resentment, stress, it can be a wonderful way to break that up. So what you will do is, before doing your tapping, you will assess what it is that you're currently feeling. So let's just say anxiety. You assess that you're feeling anxious. What you would then do is you would mark the level of your anxiety on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being no anxiety, 10 being really anxious. And write that number down. Now, the reason why we do this is we just want to have a way of gauging how less the anxiety has become after you've done some tapping. So if you're feeling some anxiety, just see where you think it might be. It might be a 5, it might be a 6, or it could even be a 10. It doesn't matter if to be too specific, it just gives you an idea. After some tapping, you can gauge, okay, does it feel a bit less or does it feel even worse? Then what we do is we begin tapping with a setup phase. So I'm going to show you the tapping points first of all before the process. So there are many different energy meridian points, but in EFT it's been simplified where if you're going to do the main tapping sequence, there's only 8 places to tap on the body. And when you tap all of these places, it covers all of the meridian points of the body, so it's much easier rather than just doing literally hundreds of tapping places. But the first tapping places that you will tap on is the beginning of the eyebrow, the side of the eye, underneath the eye, just underneath the nose, just underneath the bottom lip, and then on the chest. Now this is called the sore spot, because where you tap here, it might be a bit tender. So where your collarbones are, if you just go down about an inch or so, just around this sort of area, just tap around there. Don't worry if you don't know the exact point. If you just cover the whole area, you will cover the energy center. And again, this is called the sore spot, so it might be a bit tender here to tap. The next tapping point is just, I don't know if you can see on camera, underneath the arm, which is the bra strap for women. So you just tap there. And the last tapping point is literally on the crown of the head. So these are the 8 main tapping points. So you've got the beginning of the eyebrow, the side of the eye, underneath the eye, underneath the nose, underneath the lips, on the chest, underneath the arm, bra strap for the women, and the crown of the head. Now, before we do those tapping points, we always do a setup phase, which is when we say, okay, we want to tap on anxiety. This is where we're going to use the affirmations. We have to say certain phrases whilst doing the tapping. So whilst we do the setup phase, we begin tapping on the fleshy part of your hand. So this is called the karate chop point. So the fleshy part of your hand, literally the bit, if you was going to do a karate chop, it's literally that part of the hand. Now, it doesn't really matter what side you do it on. This is appearing on the camera, I think, is my right arm. It's actually my left, so the camera's facing the opposite way. But if you take your left hand and then just tap on the fleshy part of your hand. Now, as we tap on this point, we begin a setup phase. Now, the setup phase goes something like this. Even though I am feeling anxiety in my body, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I am feeling anxiety in my body, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I am feeling anxiety in my body, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. So we say this setup phrase 3 times. It always goes with even though, and then we state what the problem is. We say the problem, and then we always say, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Now, what we're doing here is we are acknowledging, first of all, that there's a problem. We're acknowledging that we are feeling an energy disruption. We're acknowledging the issue that we have, that we've got. Now, that's important because a lot of the time we suppress what we're feeling, we block it. And when we do that, it never goes away. It just gets worse and worse, it builds. So first of all, we are acknowledging there's an issue. So that dissolves any resistance straight away. But what we're doing is, even though we're acknowledging, we're saying, even though I'm feeling this anxiety or this pain or whatever, I still deeply and completely love and accept myself. So immediately we're beginning to put a positive twist to that. It's a reversal psychological thing. It's, what's it called? It's a psychological reversal. It's known as PR, I believe. But it's reversing that, so still stating a positive in that. So what we're going to do is we're going to be tackling it in our mind at the same time whilst tapping. So once we've set the setup phase, done it 3 times, we will then begin the tapping points on the main body. And when we do the tapping points, we'll say reminder phrases to keep the intention, to bring the issues to the surface. So we will say this anxiety, this stress, just for example. And the reason why we do that is because some people have had a bit of resistance to do that to begin with, because they worry, oh, am I actually saying negative affirmations? Am I actually going to make it worse? No, not at all. What we are doing is we need to bring to the forefront of our mind what the problem is, so that we can be very, very specific on the energy and the motion to clear. The founder of E.F.T, he's called Gary Craig. He believes that, well, first of all, if you actually look up online about E.F.T teachings, you will see a lot of E.F.T teachings combining positive affirmations with E.F.T, which does work. However, the founder, Gary Craig, believes you don't need to do that. His method and belief is that E.F.T, if the energy system doesn't have any disruptions by negative thoughts and trauma, in its natural state, we should feel peace and happiness. So he says that if we remove all the negative charge, we would feel happy and at peace anyway. He likens the analogy, if you've got a dirty floor, you don't want to straight away polish it and make it sparkly with the dirt on there. We've got to clean and clear away the dirt first before making it good and polishing it up, which in our process, we can say the dirty floor is our negative thoughts, feelings, and energy. We need to see what energy we are carrying. We need to clear it away before we can program the positives. So we have to focus on the negative to clear it. Now, what will happen before we go through the process together? When you do, EFT is a very safe therapy. However, what it can do is it can bring up emotions and memories from the past. Now, this is a good thing because this means the energy is beginning to shift and clear. But if you're going to be tapping on an issue that is very deep rooted, because what EFT specializes in is it does help to clear away the emotions and the feelings that you are feeling in the moment. However, what it's particularly good for, if you can find what the issue is, it has the potential to go straight to the root cause of what the problem was. For example, if you've got unhealthy habits, maybe some addictions, issues where you've got negative thinking and a lot of problems are in your life, if you realize that the root cause of all these problems was your fear of abandonment, because perhaps you was abandoned when you were younger, maybe you wasn't given enough love by your mum or your dad, or didn't have a great relationship growing up, or had an abusive partner, etc. If by doing this you find that the root cause is fear of abandonment, and then you tap on, even though I have this fear of abandonment, and that energy and that pattern gets dissolved, you will find that a load of the other issues, the issues with addiction, the issues with relationships, not feeling good enough, maybe not succeed in certain things, money issues, all of that will fall away because you remove the root. So this has the potential to do that. But if it does do that, it can bring up some emotions. So just to let you know, if you do some tapping, if you get emotional, that's fine. If you get tired, that's fine. You might start yawning. If you feel tingles, that's fine. If you might feel hot, you might feel cold, that's fine. You might get some memories that come to the surface, and you might get some deep insights. Because what we're going to be doing here is we're also connecting to the subconscious mind and our intuition. The more you get used to this process, the more you will tune into your intuition and actually will gain much more insight, because we are literally clearing away energy in the meridian system, and we're clearing away the emotional discharge. And what it also does for the brain is it helps to calm down the amygdala, the emotional brain, the fight or flight response, the part of our brain that's involved in the fight or flight response and the stress. It's shown to calm the amygdala down. So there's several different levels that we're going to be working on. So if you feel any of these sensations, it's fine. But just to let you know as well, depending on what the issue is, you might want to do tapping bit by bit if it's a very emotional, if you're not ready to face the emotion, you might want to do it gradually. So just a heads up, making you aware. The other thing that's very important before we do some tapping is to have some water with you. The reason why is it's always recommended to drink a sip of water after each round of tapping, because water is a conductor of electricity and we're going to be moving energy around. In a scientific term, the energy is also known as bioelectricity. So if we want to move the energy around, we need good conductors, need to be hydrated. So I'm going to have some water. So I'm just going to have a quick mouthful of water now, and then we'll do a round together. If you have some water, or if you are able to get some water, I encourage you to do that. Okay. Now, before I begin, is there anything else that I need to explain? I think that's pretty much it for the moment. So we're going to just do an example on anxiety and stress. So you can repeat along with me if you wish, or if you just want to watch the tapping process, that's fine. Do whatever you feel drawn to do. So take your left hand and begin tapping. And just to quickly say, when we do the tapping points on the body, it doesn't matter if you use your right hand and tap on the right side of your body, or the left hand side, or both hands. When you tap on one side of the body, it covers the other side automatically. So all the meridians are covered, so it doesn't matter. It's purely preference. I'm going to do it with the one hand because I think it might be easier for you to see on the camera. Okay. So take a couple of deep breaths. Just begin tapping. You don't have to tap too hard or too fast. Just begin tapping on the fleshy part of your hand. And if you are feeling some anxiety or stress or unease, just give it a rating in your mind of where you think it feels on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being not very intense and 10 being very intense. And remember that number. Okay? And we'll begin. So even though I'm feeling some anxiety, tension and stress in my body, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I am feeling some anxiety, stress and tension in my body, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I am feeling some anxiety, stress and tension in my body, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Okay? Tap at the beginning of the eyebrow and just repeat this feeling of anxiety. Move to the side of the eye. This anxiety and tension in my body. Underneath the eye, use both hands. This stress, anxiety in my body. Underneath the nose, this tension that I am feeling. Underneath the lip, this feeling of unease in my body. On the chest, this tension that I've been carrying all day. Just underneath the arm, this feeling of stress and anxiety. Top of the head, that I have been feeling inside my body. Back to the beginning of the eyebrow, this anxiety. Side of the eye, this tension that I have been feeling. It's underneath the eye, that seems to be draining me. Underneath the nose, and it's something that I've been carrying for a while now. It's underneath the lip, and this anxiety is something that I am willing to now let go of and remove from my energy system. Crown of the head, and this anxiety, this stress and tension in my body, I am now willing to release and choose to release on all levels. Okay? Now take a deep breath. And when you're ready, take a sip of water. How did that feel? Did that have any sensations for you? If you did tap along with me, what I feel right now, I always feel a sense of a lightness inside me. It's very subtle. Sometimes it's working with a subtle energy. There's a lightness in my body and I can feel more circulation as the energy is shifting. I always feel like rush of hot and cold down my legs. And what it can also do is it can make you a bit more quieter inside, a bit more centered, because that's also calming down that fight or flight response. Now have a look. If you did have some anxiety, stress or tension, and if you did give it a score between 0 to 10, where do you feel now? Oh, Caroline, yawning. Yes, the yawning, that's wonderful. The energy is shifting. Any reaction? Oh, I've got another comment here. Yes, I've got chills through my body when I tapped on my points. Yes, these are very common. These are very common symptoms. Now, what you're doing is you're working with your energy. You're tapping on these points to disrupt that cycle that we've got into. And it's literally clearing energy from the meridians that we don't even know that we're holding on to. It's also working to remove the emotional charge from the brain and rewiring the neural pathways. That's why it's called energy psychology. We're working with energy and the psychology. Carrie, we've got, I do feel a subtle shift in my body. I feel a light vibrating in my body. Yes, that's you can feel like you're tingling, you're vibrating, and sometimes you can feel like I'm buzzing, you know? So if you have given yourself a score between 0 to 10, does it feel any less? Does it feel a bit calmer? Would you say the number's come down or has the number come up? Sometimes the number can feel like it goes up to begin with, only because we are bringing those issues up to the surface. This is another thing to remember. When these issues come up to the surface, it's not to be re-identified with. By this, I mean we want to observe it as we release it. So don't worry about if something comes up. Don't get re-identified with it. Just observe it as it gets released. I think I'm going to turn on a light. It might be getting a bit dark for the camera. I don't have my... I will do another round. Bear with me. I'll just turn on a light so you might be able to see me better, and we'll do some more tapping. Right, now, I don't know if that makes much more difference. It might do. Well, that's good enough. You can see me. Right, so we will do another round. So, make sure you've got some water. Have a sip of water. So, if you take your left hand and just begin tapping again. And then begin to repeat. Even though I am feeling anxiety and tension in my body, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I have anxiety and tension in my body, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I have anxiety and tension in my body, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Okay? Go to the beginning of the eyebrow. This anxiety, side of the eye, and this tension in my body, just underneath the eye, this anxiety, just underneath the nose, and this tension in my body, underneath the lip, that I've been feeling for a while now. Tap on the chest. And it's made me feel uneasy, this feeling of unease underneath the arm. And it has been making me feel a bit drained and tired. The crown of the head. This tension and anxiety that's currently in my body. Beginning of the eyebrow. That I have carried for quite a while. Side of the eye. And I now wish to release this. It's underneath the eye. Sometimes I'm not even too sure why I feel anxious. Underneath the nose. I just do. It's become a habit. Underneath the lip. And this fear that I'm holding on to, on the chest, for such a while now, I now choose to release. Underneath the arm. I choose to let this anxiety and stress go now and be free. Crown of the head. And I now choose to let go of whatever the root cause is to this stress, anxiety and tension within my body. Okay, take a deep breath. Have some water again. And how do you feel now? Do you feel any more sensations? Do you have a feeling of hot or cold, tingling, some emotion coming to the surface? Are you feeling calmer? Any more yawning? I'm feeling more lighter inside. I'm feeling calmer inside and quieter, more centered. My energy is a lot more calmer and centered. Does anyone feel the same? Caroline, yawning again. Bit of tingling and calmer. Yes. And how was the score? Carrie, I'm feeling calmer. Wonderful. Would you say that your score has come down? Astro, I'm feeling calmer. I feel more emotion coming to the surface, but I'm releasing it, making my calm. Yes, yes. This is good. Now I'm going to say, when I've used this, when I've been very anxious, quite often it connects me to my inner child. Now this would make perfect sense that it does this, because the inner child is also is also connected to the subconscious mind. Because remember, the subconscious part of our mind remembers all experiences that we've had, even if we consciously don't remember. So the subconscious mind has all those emotional imprints that we've had from all experiences, positive as well, but we don't focus on those positives because they're not causing us the problems. The problems that we come up is if it's not good experiences. And the inner child remembers that, and that's where we are. The inner child that still has those emotional wounds is connected to the memory of the subconscious, so it remembers everything. So it's very common to feel your inner child when tapping. It's part of inner child healing. And the emotions come up, the memories come up, and if the emotion comes up, if I will get tears and I'll have a bit of a cry. And I am saying to myself whilst I'm crying, this is brilliant, because the emotion and the energy is literally coming out. I remember I tapped on, this works good for grief if you're grieving. When my cat passed away a couple of years ago, I had quite a bit of grief, and I also realised that it triggered grief that I was still holding on to when my grandparents passed away. So when I got to that root, shall we say, a lot of emotions come up, and I released a lot. And of course, it can make you feel tired. But I remember thinking afterwards, oh my goodness, was I carrying that sheer amount of emotion and energy inside this whole time? It was a very big eye-opener for me, because that was a lot of emotion that I released, and all it was just bringing it to the surface, bringing that energy up to the surface, just saying the right words, and they were trigger points. You may find that as you're tapping and saying these things, certain words will be triggers for you, and that's it, and then all this comes up. And that's an opportunity to release. And it just made me think, no wonder if some of my anxieties or some of my habits or some of my behavior had to be influenced by all that emotion that was stored in the background. Imagine what everyone else is doing. All the reasons why we turn to certain substances and have addictions and take on one abusive relationship after the other, and all the things that we do, is because we have a lot of this stored emotion energy within us. And of course, subconsciously, we've created beliefs as defense mechanisms. And these are some of the big things why we struggle to create the things that we want in our lives. Why our affirmations may not always work. Even if we understand the process of manifesting, we could easily have in our subconscious mind and in our energy system emotions and energy and trauma that's blocked and stored that prevents us from moving forward. So techniques like EFT, techniques like meditation, visualization, yoga, eating healthily, being in nature, all of these are wonderful things to help clear that energy. And so we can reprogram that part of our mind and begin to create new beliefs to help us create new experiences in our life. So EFT is a very powerful tool. What I would like to do with you guys now is another round, before I go to questions, another round where we'll do some positive affirmations so we can end it on a high. Now, even if your anxiety, oh, I'm glad your scores come down, Carrie, just seeing that, wonderful. Now, this is the way I work with clients with EFT. So I honour the original teachings from Gary Craig that we focus on the negative first, because that's very true. However, from my personal experience from doing it and working with so many clients with EFT, if you just focus on the negative, clear a lot of stuff, and you might feel lighter and you might feel calmer. Sometimes you can feel a bit empty or a bit blank. So I think it's really good to end it on a high, because EFT coupled with your affirmations can also be very powerful, because if you think you're tapping on these energy points on the body, if you're tapping to clear away the negative, you can also tap in positive, so it can amplify, has the potential to amplify your positive affirmations. So even if we still have some more anxiety to clear, or even if we need to do a bit more rounds of tapping on a few habits to really get rid of it, if we've just done enough that we want, like if a few rounds of tapping is enough that you can handle for one session, always end it on a positive note, because it just gets your energy up that bit higher. Think of this analogy. So we want perfect balance, and then not only that, this is the way I see it. It's all very well if we remove the negative and the blocks, then our energy system becomes balanced and we have some peace. But we are creators of our reality, and I see that if we are accessing that part of our energy system and our mind that can remove the habits that have held us back all our lives, if we can access that part of our brain to reprogram habits to make us live our life to the fullest and be in alignment with our higher self and most optimum, then I think we should take that opportunity. So at the moment, we might have this energy level of negative thoughts and feelings and beliefs, and this is the positive. Obviously, this needs to come down first. If you're feeling like this and you're saying your positive affirmations, they're not really going to have much weight behind them if you've got a lot of emotional energy, a lot of negative charge. We need to bring this down first. So as we bring it down, and then let's say it's come down to here, and we finished the tapping for today, but you've made it come down a bit. Let's end it with some positive, because this is now lower. There's less resistance for the positive to now come up. So eventually we want the positive to be higher and the negative to be lower. And we want this to be our baseline state of being. So the positive is much higher. If this comes down, it's easier for this to go up. So we're going like this. So I'm going to run through some positive affirmations just whilst we're tapping. We'll start just a little bit to begin with on the anxiety and clearing the anxiety, and then we'll switch it up just to say some more empowering statements and see how you feel. So if you're wanting to join in, just take another swig of water. By the way, again, this workshop will be available on the replay on my YouTube page. For those of you on Instagram who are just tuning in or would like to see this again, I can't upload the replays on Instagram now, so it's going to be on my YouTube channel page under the live section. So as soon as this live stream's over, it should be available straight away on YouTube if you want to rewatch this. But I'm also going to be uploading some YouTube videos about EFT and tapping for certain specific things as well, so you won't be missing out on anything. Right, so begin tapping. So we will start off with the same setup phase, but then we'll switch it up to the positive as we're tapping through, okay? So once again, begin tapping here. Even though I'm still feeling a bit of anxiety and tension in my body, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I am still feeling a bit of anxiety and tension in my body, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I am still feeling some slight anxiety and tension in my body, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Okay, beginning the eyebrow. This anxiety that I'm still feeling in my body, the corner of the eye, and this tension that I'm still feeling in my body, just underneath the eye, is not going to hold me back any longer. Underneath the nose, I now feel calmer than what I did. Underneath the lip, and I now feel more at peace than what I did. Just on the chest. In fact, I'm now feeling quite calm and relaxed, and I'm not really feeling anxious anymore. Underneath the arm, because I know there is nothing to be anxious about, truly. The crown of the head. I know that I'm always safe and well. I am always protected. Back to the eyebrow. In fact, I am willing to no longer be anxious. Corner of the eye. I am willing to always feel calm and at peace. Underneath the eye. I am willing to realize that I am a wonderful being of light. Underneath the nose. And I am willing to realize that I am infinitely abundant. Underneath the lip. I am willing to love and accept myself. On the chest. I am willing to love and approve of myself. Underneath the arm. And I am willing to let go of all the root causes of my fears and anxieties. Top of the head. And I am willing to release all these now. So, beginning of the eyebrow. I am willing to realize my divine potential. Side of the eye. And I'm willing to realize I don't need to be anxious anymore. Underneath the eye. Because I know that I am much more capable than I have given myself credit for. Underneath the nose. And I am now willing to let go and forgive myself and to forgive the past. Underneath the lip. I now accept myself as I am here in this moment. On the chest. And I am willing to believe in myself and how capable I am. Underneath the arm. I know that I can face all challenges that come my way. I am willing to believe this. Crown of the head. And I am willing and very able to let go of all stress, fear, tension, and anxiety that's holding me back from my fullest potential. And so it is. Okay? Take a deep breath. And out. Take one more deep breath in. And out. And if you've got your water, I encourage you to take a sip. And how did that feel? Was there any difference to how you felt tapping in those positive statements to when you was tapping away the negative? Or has it just helped lower the anxiety that you had even more? You feeling calm? I'm feeling even more calmer inside than before. Feeling much more centered. You may find that some emotion has still come up, which is okay. That's part of releasing. And you may also find that your releasing from the tapping may continue on for the next few days. Because what we're doing here is, as we're tapping on these meridian points of the body, we are unblocking the emotions and their energy, getting the energy shift in. But we are also unlocking a door, we can say, from that part of our mind to release this energy. And sometimes some things can just be released just like that. Other times it's a bit of process of layers. We have to realize that we are energy and vibration. We're not just physical matter. In fact, we're just energy and vibration, all vibrating at different speeds, depending on what we're thinking and feeling. And our energy circuit is realigning and rebalancing. So, These emotions may continue to come up, these energies may continue to come up, and that's okay. It's all part of the process. If you allow it, and if the emotions and memories that come up, and you remembered experiences that happened when you were younger perhaps, and you've gained some insight as to the root cause of where this stress or anxiety come from, that's okay. The trick is, not the trick, the key thing is to remember is to not identify with it again. If you are realizing that you are tapping on some fears of abandonment or not feeling loved by your parents, and that was the root cause of all the failed relationships that you may have had, just as an example, it's not to re-identify with you as a little girl or a little boy with your mum or your dad. It's to be witness to, okay, that's where that came from. Okay, let's let this go. I'm willing to release this energy. And then you're willing to show yourself self-love. Now, what's the carry? I can say I released some tears that time. It often happens when I declare my worthiness out loud. Yes, absolutely. Because as well as you can get tears, not just from releasing the emotions of the trauma, you can get the tears when you declare your own, what's the right word? Worthiness, your own sovereignty, divinity, your true empowerment. That can also bring up strong emotions. Now, EFT is one of was one of my most favorite therapies. It's one of the reasons why I've trained in it as a therapist, and one of the reasons why I use it in my coaching programs, because it's a key tool to have to begin purging and releasing this anxiety, this tension, this energy. If you couple that along with practicing practices to heal the inner child, forgiveness and gratitude, self-love and affirmations, then you are on your way to really transforming yourself, and how you can really let go of the past, shift your perspective, and realize that what you've been holding on to this whole time doesn't have to control you any longer. There are these tools out there. Now, you look at what we've just done, tapping, how simple and easy that is. So, I know people who, if they're at work and they just feel a bit anxious or tension, they'll quickly go to the bathroom and just do a round of tapping. You just take yourself away somewhere, just do a round of tapping. Once you know the technique and the process, you just need to tap and just say the issues that you're currently feeling that you need to be cleared. So I hope that's been helpful. I'm going to move on to the Q&A section now, if anyone has any questions about that. If you are interested in learning more about EFT or working on a one-to-one basis, EFT is one of the key components in my coaching programs that I train my clients in, and work on a one-to-one basis to have the accountability and the personalization that you may need. So if this is something you are interested in, you can book a free 20-minute discovery call with me, where you can, this is on my Instagram page and the link on my YouTube About section, where you can book a date and a time with me, and we can discuss about the issues that you would like to work on. We can set up a plan for you, and if it resonates and you want to go ahead with the process, then we can work together. But also this workshop will be available on the replay on my YouTube page. So if you want to go over this process again, but I also will be posting more videos. I'm going to be posting a video tomorrow on my YouTube channel explaining about the basics of EFT and doing some tapping rounds as well. So if anyone has any questions on YouTube or Instagram, do let me know about the EFT process, and we'll see what comes up. Keep drinking plenty of water. A lot of us don't drink enough water anyway as it is, let alone when we're doing some releasing. So I'm just going to quickly, whilst we're waiting for some questions to come through, if there are any, I'm just going to scroll through on Instagram just to see if there's any comments that has come through. So Caroline, feeling more positive, calmer, water in eyes. Yes, so I'm glad you're feeling a lot more positive, a lot more calmer, and the water in the eyes, that's good. You're getting responses from your body that energy is shifting. There's a chemical reaction here. Tears have been released. Carrie, that was lovely. Thank you, Danny. You're most welcome, Carrie. Thank you for tuning in. Cool to see you on the YouTube side as well. It's lovely to see quite a few of you coming over to YouTube as well as on Instagram, as well as the new audience that I'm finding on YouTube as well. So it's wonderful. Love to have a wonderful community where we can all sort of help each other. I think we're in a place at the moment in the world right now where I think community is very important, especially for like-minded individuals. You know, we're all in this process together because we're more powerful together than on our own. And of course, we're all connected anyway, aren't we? Water fasting powers. I'm not too familiar with water fasting. I've not done that myself. So I'm afraid I don't feel I can comment on that. Everything that I speak about is always something that's coming from my personal experience and that I've tried, studied, but water fasting isn't one of them. So I don't have much to say about that. No, doesn't seem to be any questions coming through so far. Maybe I think we're all kind of a bit chilled out now by the looks of it, aren't we? Just the feedback. Oh, there is a question here. Erica, does it help to relieve pain too? Yes, EFT has been known to help with pain management. In my studies that I did for EFT, there are sections where you can. I mean, it works with everything really, but there are sections that they actually do teach you on to do with pain, addiction, anxiety, weight management as well. Quite a few people have been able to lose weight from EFT. You can also use EFT with your chakras. Now there are also other. This is the main. What we went through today was the main tapping sequence of EFT, but there are other tapping sequences as well for different benefits, different ways to tackle things. But we can do them in later workshops, and I'll be exploring them in my YouTube videos that I'll be making as well. But right now, this is just the basic tapping point. Just to go over it again, there is 8 main tapping points, which is the beginning of the eyebrow, the side of the eye, underneath the eye, underneath the nose and a little slip there, underneath the lip on the chin, on the chest, just sort of a bit below the 2 collarbones. You should find it because it's sometimes quite tender. Underneath the arm, which is the area where the bra strap is for women, and the crown of the head. When you tap all of those points, you are covering all of the areas in the meridian system. It doesn't matter if you tap with your right hand or your left or both. And you always, typically you will start with a setup phase, which is tapping the karate chop point. And the setup phase would be even though, and then you state the problem, and you always end it on a positive by saying you deeply and completely love and accept yourself. I feel more emotion coming to the surface, but I'm releasing it, making me calm. Yes. Yeah, so EFT really is a wonderful process. Philip.Kansas13, and what should be done differently on those upcoming sessions? If you're basically meaning the other techniques, there are other techniques that you can do. There's some brain balancing exercises and some other exercises that you can do to help give the tapping a bit more oomph. Because sometimes when we do some tapping, it's said that EFT will always work. The only times it will not work is if we have some type of energy toxins in our body. Energy toxins can be alcohol, drugs, substances that aren't good for the body. It could be some perfumes, it can be any type of chemicals or foods that aren't healthy or negative energies and thoughts. There's quite a few that if we're talking about pure energy, there can be quite a few things that we class as energy toxins. But one of actually the biggest things that can prevent it from working is if we block it from happening, if we resist it. This is one of the reasons why in the setup phase we put in a positive statement, because we want to do a bit of psychological reversal, because a lot of the times we will have some resistance to change. Subconsciously we'll have a lot of resistance. So there's a bit of self-sabotage behavior, because even though we might not like to admit it, and we might not even realize it, but sometimes some of us have grown so used to the trauma that we've carried on, it's almost become part of our identity. And so part of us, even though we feel the burdens from it and we want to change, another part of us doesn't want to give it up. So when that happens, there's some other techniques to help with some certain eye movements and exercises to help balance the brain that gives a bit more oomph. There's other things that you can also do with EFT if you are looking to tackle maybe some more, I mentioned earlier, if you've got quite a lot of severe trauma and it's too much to do at once, there's some visualization techniques that you can do alongside to release the issues bit by bit. But we can't obviously go through everything in one session. So there'll be more techniques explored in future sessions and videos as well. And what if the person can't connect to those feelings? Is it necessary to do another session? Yes, EFT in a session, it absolutely depends on the issue. There's been some cases where people have just done tapping once or twice, and the issue's just gone just like that. There's quite a famous case in the world of EFT, I think from Gary Craig himself, where there was a lady who got over a phobia of water after a couple of rounds of tapping straight away. She was scared of water her whole life, and she went swimming, and she was absolutely fine. Other times it needs a few sessions to chip away at it, because it is possible not to always feel, because sometimes we can suppress things so much we become emotionally numb, but we know there's an issue there. So when that happens, if you know that there's something wrong, you know that you don't feel great and there's something to be cleared, if you don't know where to begin, usually I get clients to just tap, even though I don't feel great and I don't know why. I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Always start from where you are. Even if you're feeling resistance, even though I'm feeling this resistance to change, even though I don't feel these feelings at the moment, but I know there's a problem, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Just start from where you're at, because the more you begin tapping away, you will begin to shift whatever energy you can tune into, and then it starts to reveal itself more and more, if that makes sense. You begin to lighten the load a bit, and eventually the more you tap on it, on this resistance. I mean, I worked with a client, there's so many issues going on in her life, so many things she wanted to change, but she was kind of so confused emotionally, she didn't know where to begin, and there was just this barrier that she had, and it was resistance. She didn't know where to begin, so I just said, well, let's first of all tap, even though I have this resistance, to change. And we had to do quite a few rounds of tapping for her to realize that it was fear. So sometimes you might need one session, sometimes you might need several. The way to gauge that is how you feel and what comes up. Will the tapping on either side of the body bring up different or same emotions? It shouldn't do anything differently, not that what I've been trained and not that what I'm under the impression of, because is the word, is it symmetrical? Is that the right word? Where it's the same? If you tap on with one hand or the opposite hand or both hands, it makes no difference. As long as you're tapping on those energy points, it's fine. There's any more questions? Let's go to the bottom. Do specific emotions arise by tapping on a specific pressure points? It can do. There are certain, that's another thing as well, because this is kind of we're only just really scratching the surface. You can also just singly tap on one of these individual points. For example, if you're familiar with Qigong or Tai Chi, which is a bit like the basis of like the martial arts movements, and Tai Chi and Qigong is working with your body energy, and it's sort of like an energy meditation where you do certain movements to manipulate the energy in the body and in your subtle bodies for health, vitality, and peace. Wonderful, wonderful practice. I do it every morning and every evening. And I've noticed when doing the Qigong practices that I'm following with my teacher, there's some tapping points on the body. Tapping underneath the eyes, for example. Tapping on the thymus or the heart. Tapping here. And of course we tap around here as well. So you can tap on individual parts of the meridian system to focus on specific issues. If you just tap here, for example, it's wonderful if you just want to focus on anxiety. Just tapping here. So there's various things that you can do. But if you do the most simplified, the most effective way, at least to my knowledge, is the EFT 8 main tapping process. It's been simplified by Gary Craig. EFT is a simplified version of thought field therapy. So the original therapy was called TFT, thought field therapy, but that was a bit more complex and a bit more longer-winded process. Gary Craig, who was a student of TFT, developed this method where you just need to tap these 8 points and everything's covered. So yes, you can just tap on individual points, but I always like to do the 8 points because you cover all areas anyway. And if I'm just thinking, if I'm spending time just to tap on one point, just do everything, because everything just gets balanced more. Hey Joss, hope you're doing well. Hi Danny, I've tuned in a bit late. Is it possible to re-watch this workshop later on? Yes, absolutely. Over on YouTube, the replay will be available. It should come up, if you're subscribed to my channel, it should come up as a suggested video, but if not, if you go to the live tab, all the live stream workshops are now going to be listed there. I'll post on my story once it's uploaded with a link to the replay as well. Is there any more questions? Let's have a look. Right, I think that's all the questions asked, and no more questions on the YouTube side. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in to the EFT workshop. I hope that was helpful. I'm glad to hear feedback from so many of you that tapped along with me and felt calmer, felt wonderful benefits. It's great feedback to hear that you're all getting those wonderful benefits as well. Yes, this replay is going to be available on YouTube if you want to see it again. I'm going to be uploading a YouTube video tomorrow with the basics of EFT, and I'm going to be uploading more videos on tapping demonstrations on particular issues as well that you can tap along with me. And of course, if you are interested in working with me in a one-to-one basis, I do have coaching spaces available, and there's the option for a free 20-minute discovery call with me as well, where we can have a chat about the issues you'd like to work on, and we can come up with a coaching plan for you. Yes, I've done Qigong, found it great. Thank you, Danny. I really enjoyed that. You're most welcome, Caroline. Glad you felt the differences. Philippe, thank you, Danny. Very helpful indeed. You're most welcome. Ozzy, thank you for the session and for answering the questions. You are most welcome as well. I will be doing another workshop. Oh, Gina, thanks. I caught the end and will watch the replay. Yes, the replay should be available in a matter of minutes. I'll just need to let the video download, and then it'll be up on YouTube, and it'll probably come up on the channel feed as well. But I will be doing another workshop on Thursday. I'll post information tomorrow leading up to it nearer the time about what that's going to be about and times. But thank you, everyone. So wherever you are in the world, hope you have a lovely morning, afternoon, and evening, and I will see you next time. So take care, everyone. Bye-bye.